Welcome to the Don't Count Me Out podcast. This program is dedicated to stroke survivors, loved ones, caregivers, medical professionals, and anyone interested in learning more about this devastating disease and the warriors that face it every day. Our mission is to share stroke survivors' stories of inspiration and hope, form friendships and community, gain knowledge and insights, and the courage to dream and explore new avenues as we find our way back to living. So, my friends, the Don't Count Me Out podcast begins right now. Okay, one thing that I want to bring up with our guest today, Danielle Kunkle, and I apologize if I did not say your last name properly. K's are hard for me.
Well, you got it perfectly. It's Kunkle, and I'm married now to a Roberts, so it makes it a lot easier when I'm introducing myself to people if I just skip the Kunkle, because that's a hard one.
Well, we've got a wonderful topic today, and I think one that's going to be very helpful to all of us. Danielle happens to be a guru when it comes to insurance. And so she's going to help us understand a little more about Medicare. I know when I turned 65, which was many years ago, that was a topic that just put fear in your heart. You didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I want to do this show, especially now, is because open enrollment is coming up, I believe in October 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
So now we have April 15th for taxes, October 15th for insurance.
We just can't get a break, can we?
No, insurance is always in such a state of flux right now as far as coverage goes. And there's more plans than there are flavors of ice cream in an ice cream shop. So how do we make an informed decision? How do we know what's best for us and our family, especially for older individuals? And what about those with special needs? Those are some of the conversations we'll be having this afternoon. She's not only an insurance expert, but Danielle is also the owner of Boomer Benefits and the author of 10 Costly Medicare Mistakes You Can't Afford to Make. So, which one do you want to start with, Danielle?
Well, why don't we start with talking about the coming annual election period, because we know that that's something that causes a lot of anxiety for Medicare beneficiaries across America. And that, of course, is partly because Medicare squishes 60 million Medicare beneficiaries into a 7-week opportunity to make plan changes. And so even if you're happy with your current plan, you'll see commercials with sports stars hawking Medicare plans, and you'll question, should I be doing something this time of year? And so I always love to go over what the annual election period is for and what it's not for, so that you can focus on the things that are most important and not worry about the parts of your coverage that aren't affected. So I like to also explain to people, whenever you first come into Medicare, you have choices in your coverage. And there may seem like a lot of choices, but all of them boil down to two main ways that you can get your healthcare benefits. One is through Original Medicare, and if you choose, you can pair that with a Medicare supplement and a Part D drug plan to minimize your risk of expenditures on healthcare services. And the other way is to get that coverage through a Medicare Advantage plan, which is a private insurance company, which you join and then get your Medicare benefits through their local network. And the annual election period in the fall is not for renewing your Medicare itself. Fortunately, you only have to sign up for Medicare Parts A and B once. You do that when you turn 65 or when you retire from a job. Maybe you worked a few years past age 65 and now you're retiring at 67 or 70. You can enroll in Medicare at that time. You only do that Medicare enrollment the one time. Then after that, in the annual election period, the only things you need to worry about are reviewing your standalone Part D drug plan. So if you stayed with Original Medicare and you added a Medigap plan and a Part D drug drug plan. The part that changes from year to year is the drug plan. So that drug plan, it renews its contract with Medicare every year. And as we know, Medicare likes to increase the premiums and deductibles and co-pays on all of the things that you pay for under Medicare. And so that drug plan then has to adjust to the new numbers that Medicare has put forth. That drug plan will send you a notice in September called the Annual Notice of Change. This usually comes by mail, but sometimes you may not even realize that you've signed up to get it electronically. So you want to look in September in both your mailbox and your email inbox. You might even want to check your spam, because you will get a notice from your current Part D drug company telling you, here's what your benefits were this year, and here's what they're changing to next year. Now, a lot of times there won't be a big change and you might be perfectly happy, but sometimes there's an enormous change, such as pulling the plan that you're on and we're dumping all of you into this other plan that costs 3 times as much. Or this year you didn't have a deductible and next year you will. Or maybe your premium goes up and it's more than what you would like to pay. When you get that notice in September, the reason the carriers have to have it out to you by September 30th is so that you have time to review it and decide whether you want to exercise your right to change to a different drug plan in the annual election period in the fall from October 15th to December 7th. So that document is really important, letting you know if you need to change your drug plan. You do not need to make any changes to your Medicare supplement. So Medicare supplements do not change their benefits from year to year. Most of the plans say exactly the way that they are, and they pay exactly the same benefits next year as they do this year. So you don't have to worry about whether or not your Medicare supplement is making a major change to your benefits, and therefore you don't even have to think about that. All you need to look at is that drug plan piece. Likewise, if you were one of those people that chose the other route, the Medicare Advantage, like an HMO or a PPO, those plans, just like the standalone Part D drug plans, change all their benefits from year to year. And they can change the premiums, your co-pays, your co-insurance, your deductible, your provider network, your pharmacy network, your drugs that are covered under the plan, if you have Part D included in your Advantage plan, which most people do. And it's really important then for you to look for that annual notice of change in September. You'll get one if you're on Medicare Advantage as well, and see what's changing. And I like to tell people, if your doctor copay goes up $1 or your premium goes from $20 to $22, this is a pretty minor change and not the kind of thing that you need to go and pick a whole new plan for. But if you like getting your medications at Walgreens and they're dropping Walgreens from their pharmacy network, or you find out from your doctor that he's not going to participate in that plan the next year, or you take a $400 diabetes medicine and next year the plan's not going to cover it anymore, those are major changes that you want to be aware of so that you don't miss that opportunity to make a plan change in the fall during the annual election period and start your new plan in January. So when we kind of take all of that and put that in summary, the annual election period is so that you could make a change to either your drug plan or your Medicare Advantage plan. If you don't like something that is changing, you can change from one plan to another. You could also be on a Medicare Advantage plan and go back to original Medicare if you wanted to do that. So you can enroll in, change, or disenroll from a Part D drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. And that's what that annual election period is all about.
If you change from one plan to another and decide in the next year you want to go back, are you able to go back to the plan you had before?
So if you were on a Medicare Advantage plan and you change to a different Advantage plan, you're going to be in that plan usually for a year, but there are periods throughout the year where you can make a change if you're unhappy. One of those is the annual election period, which we're discussing now. And let's say you did change from a Medicare Advantage plan to a new Medicare Advantage plan, and in January you found out something you didn't know that you don't like about your new plan. From January 1st to March 31st, you have a one-time window to make a change from that Advantage plan, either back to the plan that you had before or to a different plan if you'd prefer to go to a different plan. So you will have an opportunity to make one change if you're going from, say, a Medicare Advantage plan to another Medicare Advantage plan in that January to March window. The thing that you can can't do that a lot of people have the most concern about is, let's say that you've been on original Medicare with a Medicare supplement since you turned 65. Well, when you turn 65 and you start your Medicare Part B, you have a 6-month window to choose any Medicare supplement, also called a Medigap plan, same thing, to pick any plan with no health underwriting whatsoever. But that only happens for 6 months. And once that 6-month window is over, now in the future, in most states, to change from one Medicare supplement to another, or to go from a Medicare Advantage plan back to original Medicare and add a supplement, will require you answering health questions and going through underwriting. And the new insurance company can decline you if you have a health condition. So it's really important for people to know, when you change from a Medicare supplement and you go with a Medicare Advantage plan, if down the road, a couple of years from now, you change your mind and you wish that you had stuck with that original Medicare supplement, you may not be able to get back to that coverage. So for example, if you've had a stroke, that may be a health condition that is going to cause you to not pass that underwriting, and that Medicare supplement company could turn you down. So I love to educate Medicare beneficiaries that it's a very, very serious decision to be on a Medicare supplement and leave that plan for a Medicare Advantage plan, knowing that you may not be able to get back to that coverage. And sometimes with Medicare Advantage plans, people love them while they're healthy, because you're just paying for healthcare services as you go along, and you may not be using a lot of healthcare services. But down the road, when you encounter a serious health condition and you have lots of doctor visits or hospitalizations or something like chemotherapy or dialysis, those things can be quite expensive on some Medicare Advantage plans. And so you start spending all this money and you think to yourself, I wish I had stuck with that Medicare supplement, because when I had that plan, I wasn't spending all this money at the doctor, and maybe I'll leave my Medicare Advantage plan and now go back to my Medicare supplement. And it's not that easy. Unfortunately, in most states, Texas being one of them, also Florida, where I know you're located, you would have to go through underwriting to get there. So these are decisions that some of your listeners or audience may already not be able to change. Maybe they've been with a Medicare Advantage plan now for a number of years. But if you have some people in your audience who have a Medicare supplement and have gotten used to the type of comprehensive coverage that comes with that plan, you want to take it very seriously when you're thinking about leaving that coverage to go to the other kind of coverage, the Medicare Advantage, because you may not be able to get back to that original coverage if you're on that Advantage plan for too long.
I think this is an ideal spot to let the audience know that you are not an insurance company.
Correct.
That you work with a number of different insurances, 30 or so. So explain a little bit about what your position and your job actually is.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So an independent Medicare insurance broker or agent, like Boomer Benefits, we are licensed, appointed, and certified with a bunch of different insurance companies. So when I'm working with a Medicare beneficiary, they may have a Medicare supplement or an Advantage plan or a drug plan, and we work with a variety of carriers that offer those products. So we can assist people with enrolling in a Medicare supplement, say from a company like Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I could also help you look at a Blue Cross, a Mutual of Omaha Medicare supplement, or one from Aetna or Cigna. So we work with a lot of big insurance companies, and we're looking to help our clients find the coverage that works best for them, and then choose a product or an insurance company that's a good fit for what they need. So when you're working with a broker, the nice part about that is we get paid by the insurance companies. So we can show you all of the different products and help you find the one that really is a good fit for you. That puts a broker like us on the side of the Medicare consumer rather than the insurance companies. So we are licensed and appointed to work with those companies, but we offer multiple products so that we don't have to go in and be a one-trick pony where we try to sell every person the same plan. And the plan that works great for your friend Sally may not be great for you because she has a different budget. She has different health conditions. She has different doctors and pharmacies and different medications. And so we're looking for the plan that's going to fit the client the best, the Medicare beneficiary. And it puts me in a position, having done this for 16 years, to walk you through some of the things like I'm mentioning you need to be aware of about the annual election period and the type of plan that you choose, because we have seen people in those scenarios who make a choice and then later regret that choice, or who make a choice and pick the perfect plan for them. And we can share with you the experiences that we've seen from thousands of other policyholders that we've worked with over the years.
There's a couple of different associations that you belong to. I don't remember the names of them.
Sure.
I want to make sure that people realize not only that, but you're not government funded.
Mm-hmm.
And so any advice or information you give is strictly for the person that is looking at the insurance.
And the good part about working with a licensed insurance agent is you know that that agent had to go through a curriculum. They had to pass an exam with their state to get a license in the first place. They pay fees to those insurance departments to maintain their license. And they also go through continuing education. Here in Texas, I go through 20 hours of continuing education every cycle. In fact, I think it's 24 now. And that means that we have to be constantly educated at how things go. So the first and foremost and most important thing is to work with someone who is a licensed insurance agent. And you can ask that agent for their license number, and you can look that up right online at your home Department of Insurance. So Boomer Benefits, my agency, is licensed and appointed to do business in 48 states. And so we have licenses in all of those states where you can look that up and see that the license is active and we're in good standing. And then another thing you might look for is, does that agent participate in local or national organizations or associations related to the industry? So I'm a member of the National Association of Health Underwriters, and I belong to both the Texas and the Fort Worth chapter. This association exists for the good and the education of insurance agents like me, so that we can be the most knowledgeable and the most educated agents out there in the field working with consumers each and every day. And I've had a lovely time with it over the years. I joined my local association back in 2007 or 8, I think. And I spent 6 years on that chapter, eventually being the president of a 200-member chapter. And then I went on to sit on the state board for the Texas Association. I'm still on that board as the Medicare chairperson. And on a national level, I also now serve on the Medicare advisory group. And this is a group that examines the issues surrounding Medicare that are problematic for beneficiaries like yourself, and presents that information to government regulatory entities like the Centers for Medicare and Medicare Services to try to cause or bring about positive change that benefits the consumer. And so what's great about that is when you work with an agent who is part of the NAHU Association, you are working with an agent who is investing his or her own money every month to be part of an organization that exists for the good of the consumer and for educating agents, so that you're dealing with someone who didn't just get a license years and years ago and never bothered with any education since, but who keeps up regularly through a local chapter and monthly meetings and continuing education courses to make sure that we are hopefully the best and most knowledgeable, educated agents out in the community. And if you live somewhere across America, certainly if you live in one of the 48 states that Boomer Benefits does business in, we could help you. But you could also go to the nahu.org website, and they have a feature on there called Find an Agent. And you can find an agent who works with Medicare products right there in your local hometown. So if you prefer a face-to-face meeting with someone in your community, NAHU provides you the opportunity to find an agent who, like me, serves and is educated by their local chapter.
That's nice information to know. So survivors, it's a very large community, as you probably already know.
Mm-hmm.
And we are beginning to find out that there are certain things that we need that are not being addressed or given to us at this time. One of the biggest has to do with physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we have it while we're an assisted living situation situation, or we may have it for a few weeks after when we come home. And then after that, we're literally on our own, and it's difficult. There's a number of different stroke groups who have taken up the slack in that, and they're doing a beautiful job. But there is so much more that needs to be done and refined. Is there some way that we could find a way to let people know what our needs are and have it at least discussed to see if that's something that can be extended or whatever the need?
Yeah. So with Medicare, all of the claims decisions are made by Medicare itself if you have original Medicare insurance. And fortunately, if Medicare approves a claim for you, your Medicare supplement will always pay the share that it's supposed to. However, on the flip side of that, if Medicare says, we think you've had enough physical therapy this year, and they decline to cover it for the rest of the year, your Medicare supplement company is not allowed to contribute either. So one thing that I would suggest is that you pull together a list of some of those things that you're mentioning and submit them to someone like myself who sits on the NAHU Medicare Advisory Group. We can take those concerns and pass them on to the lobbyist that we work with, who sits in front of members of Congress on a regular basis and brings the information from the community to the legislators to be determined. Now, we have had some positive change a few years ago with physical therapy. There was a point earlier than that where there was a hard cap on the number of physical therapy hours that you could have throughout any given year. And once you would reach that cap, getting therapy beyond that point is very limited. And that changed a few years ago to Medicare making what's called a softer cap on those benefits. And if the physical therapy provider provides benefits beyond the soft cap, Medicare can keep an eye on it, and they could step in and say, we're going to review this and see if you are over treating, in our opinion. So something that's very important in that scenario is for the physical therapy provider to always be documenting the necessity of the coverage, so that if Medicare does choose to review your physical therapy usage, they have more than just a date and time that you saw someone, but there's ongoing notes about the medical necessary reasons why that therapy is so important to continue. And so instead of having that hard cap, it's now a softer cap where you may or may not be reviewed by Medicare. If they review and they still feel like you have used too much, then from there on through the end of the year, you've used up the physical therapy that is allowed for you. We also know that sometimes consumers don't know how to advocate on behalf of themselves for things like this. So I would always encourage you, if you did work with an insurance agent like myself to set up your coverage in the beginning, you should reach out to that agent. They may be able to help you if there's an appeal that needs to be written to Medicare, or sometimes even speaking with a physical therapy provider on the behalf of one of our consumers or our policyholders, so that we can share information about, hey, this is how we appealed this with Medicare one time for another client that we worked with. Here's what we suggest that you write in your appeal. And perhaps we give advice that may help you in appealing something successfully. There's no guarantees on things like that. At my agency, Boomer Benefits, we have a client service team who works with our policyholders on things like this, a variety of Medicare appeals, claims issues, even things like your doctor miscoded something and so Medicare denied the claim. These are the kind of things that your agent should be helping you with on the back end. Again, no guarantee, but at least we can tell you, here's the things that we would do so that you have the best chance in a scenario like that. And that's what your agent is there for, to be an advocate for you. Now, if you have your insurance through a Medicare Advantage company instead of original Medicare, you have now given all of you have given all of the decisions about your medical care to an insurance company, and insurance companies are in business to make money. So they need to bring in enough premiums from enough group of people on Medicare and then deliver that care for less money than what they bring in to make a profit. When you join a Medicare Advantage plan, sometimes in an urban area, you may have a premium that is zero. You may not even be spending anything for the plan, but the plan gets paid by Medicare to deliver your care. And so in that scenario, when you then have to have a decision put out, it's the insurance company that's deciding whether or not you have used all that is allowed for physical therapy. The good news is that if you choose a Medicare Advantage plan, that plan has to deliver at least as much care as what original Medicare would have allowed you. But beyond that, they may have their own rules on how they limit certain types of care. And you would want to check with your current Medicare Advantage company and review that plan's evidence of coverage, which is a document that you would have been given at the time you enrolled, to see what their rules are existing and surrounding the usage of physical therapy and how many hours they may allow beyond what Medicare's soft cap is. And then if you get a decision where they're denying care, you can look to see what are my appeal opportunities and how would I appeal that with my Medicare Advantage company. So it's important for me to point out there's two different ways that you would go about that. One is an appeal to Medicare itself, where Medicare is the deciding factor on your coverage, and one is to the insurance company that you specifically chose as your Medicare Advantage provider, and looking to see what that company's rules are, because they may be different than a different Medicare Advantage company's rules. And so just knowing when you sign up for coverage, knowing that your audience here, many of them are stroke survivors, that might be something you want to look at when you're getting ready to make a plan change. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan and it's been covering you pretty well on physical therapy, before you make a plan change to another plan, you want to open up that booklet and take a strong look at how this new company is going to treat physical therapy, so that you don't find that you change to a plan and then the coverage that you have is less than what you had before, or that you're not as happy with it. You could certainly change back during the next election period, but that's not always right away. So when I run across people with certain types of health conditions in the Medicare Advantage market, you need to look carefully at that plan's summary of benefits and evidence of coverage when you join, so that you can choose a plan that hopefully is going to give you good benefits in that area of concern for you.
If I remember correctly, one of the things that you do when you're looking at the different plans for people is you actually have comparisons. So that if somebody is struggling with maybe 3 different plans that they think would be a good fit with them, you can actually put them so that people can look at it side by side and then make a decision. So, and what you're offering for people, is there a charge involved in this?
No, that's a good thing about working with an independent agent, is that we are appointed with a bunch of different carriers, and those insurance companies have commissions built into their premiums for an agent. So you're going to pay the same premium for your coverage, whether you apply directly with an insurance company or whether you use a broker like Boomer Benefits. And if you go directly with an insurance company, well, on the back end, when you need help with something, you're calling into a giant insurance company's call center, and there may or may not be someone on the other end of the line that cares, and they're in business to make money. So it's really not in their best interest to help you write an appeal that might benefit you on the back end. Whereas if you went in that coverage through an agent, you paid absolutely nothing for the cost of that agent. You pay the same premium. It's just the insurance company gives the piece that's already designated for an agent to the agent instead of keeping it for themselves. And then this agent, they're your advocate. So that an agent who has helped you enroll in a policy gets an ongoing monthly commission from the insurance company that you ultimately choose. And if you've chosen a good agent, on the back end of that, that agent will be able to help and advise you with the kinds of questions that you're bringing to me here, and who might be able to say to you, okay, we're looking at these 2 insurance companies for you. What are your biggest concerns? And somebody with a history of stroke could say, I have a history of stroke. I need physical therapy. I'm really concerned about what my benefits are going to be. And then that agent could look into the evidence of coverage of those 2 or 3 types of policies that you're considering, and seeing and sharing with you what's relevant to you about that particular company's coverage, knowing that it has to be at least as good as original Medicare. So an Advantage plan can't give you anything less than original Medicare, but beyond that, they make their own decisions on how they charge you for coverage, how you have to prior authorize things. And so the agent is somebody that can help you navigate all of that on the back end.
Navigation is what I think all of us need. Sometimes I feel like we're walking in deep water
Yes,
It's not an easy thing to do.
that's so
And
true.
it seems like somewhere between October 15th and December 7th, when you've made this decision, it's a sigh of relief. You
Yeah,
feel comfortable with what you have. And then September rolls around and it's like, oh, I do this again.
I know. It's your
Yeah.
Medicare homework, and nobody signs up for that very eagerly, do they?
Oh, peeking around that your company does have a 5-star rating. Kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
I did want to ask you too. I've read several different things about Part F. Could you
Mhm.
explain a little bit about that? And is that still valid or?
Sure. Back in the 90s, Medicare standardized Medicare supplements into 10 different plans so that consumers could compare them easily between companies. For many years, Medigap Plan F was the plan that was the most popular seller because it was the one that picked up all of the deductibles, copays, and coinsurance that would normally come out of your pocket. So if you enrolled in original Medicare and a Medicare supplement plan F, you literally had no copay at the doctor, no copay at the hospital, no deductible. You could have a knee replacement or a hip replacement or chemotherapy or outpatient surgery or a number of other types of treatments. I think there's 70,000 codes that doctors can use for Medicare outpatient expenses. No matter which Medicare service that you had, Medicare paid its share, Plan F paid the rest, and this results in a zero out of pocket for you at the time of service. You can see why that coverage would be very popular because people like peace of mind. However, Medicare made the Congress made a change to this a few years ago, starting with people who are eligible for Medicare on or after January 1st of 2020. Those individuals can no longer buy Plan F, and that's because Medicare is following Congress's decision to let everyone have a little skin in the game, meaning they think that if you have a plan with first dollar coverage that just pays for everything, you're going to run out and use more Medicare services because it doesn't cost you anything to do so other than the premium that you've paid. And so beginning with the folks turning 65 on or after January 1st of 2020, those people now can only buy Plan G or other plans. Plan G is the next most comprehensive one. And fortunately, Plan G covers almost as much as Plan F. It's just that if you enroll in Plan G, you are responsible for the Part B deductible each year on your first outpatient service. You pay that. In 2021, that's a $203 deductible. And so that deductible, you would pay that at the beginning of the year whenever you first have a service. Medicare will short pay the bill because it'll see that you still owe the deductible. But then after that, Plan G functions just like Plan F. Medicare covers 80%, Plan G covers the other 20%. And so if you are disappointed that you can no longer buy Plan F, just be aware that Plan G is very close. It's pretty close to a Plan F, except for that one factor. And your premiums are also going to be lower because you are coming out of pocket for that deductible. So the change wasn't one that affected people too negatively. It's just that it's hard to let go of a plan that you liked for a long time and thought, I'm going to get that plan when I turn 65. My dad had this plan, my parent, my friend, and now I turned 65 after the deadline and I can only get a Plan G. I think there were some people out there who were disappointed that they could no longer buy a Plan F, but quickly are learning that the Plan G is almost as good.
I'm so grateful that you came to be on the show today. The information that you've given is understandable to me, so I know everybody else can understand it as well.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's really meant a lot. And I think by using physical therapy as a for example, it brings it down to home so that we can hear what we need to do and be prepared. So in October, we can make some wise choices.
Of course.
It is comforting to know that there are people out there that we can talk to, like you, Danielle, and your company.
Well, we're happy to come back on for future episodes if it's helpful to do one each year before the annual election period, just to remind people of what all the things are about, I'm more than happy to return and share any new Medicare knowledge that I have for you at that time.
I think that's wonderful, and thank you very much. And maybe what we'll do is we'll ask our audience if they have specific questions to write them down, send them in to us, and we can pass them on to you, because if they're asking, I'm sure there's other people that are wondering and wrestling with the same thing.
That's a great idea.
Thank you. We didn't get a chance to go into your book yet, the 10 costly Medicare mistakes you can't afford to make. And I would love to have you come back on to talk about that. And one thing that we do, we have a library on our Facebook page. And so we'll make sure if you send me a copy of your book, we'll make sure that the book is included in that. So people will be able to come in there and find the information.
Terrific.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've been talking today to Danielle Kunkle from Boomer Benefits. I love the name of that.
Thank you.
And until we see you next week, have a wonderful week.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the show. My name is Bob Borth with Joanne Glenn. And remember, don't ever count us out. Have a great day. God bless.